Study Section 7, Public Administration in France. Introduction. In this session, we will continue our study on comparative analysis by focusing on public administration in France. We shall examine certain historical developments that have shaped the country's public administration and the way power is shared between the center, regional, and sub-regional entities. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this session, you should be able to 1. Describe the areas in which history has impacted France's public administration. Point out the principal features of subnational governance environment of public administration. 1. Brief history. France's history has been marked by chaos and crisis. Beginning with the French Revolution of 1789, the revolution marked a turning point in France's political history as it marked one of the most effective challenges on absolute monarchical rule on the continent of Europe. However, what is most obvious in French history is the emphasis on administration. The machinery of administration was constructed first and later political democracy. Owen 2000. In the context of public administration, the French Revolution of 1789 deepened centralization of state power. Although one significant achievement was the division of France into departments controlled from Paris, which made France the most uniformly and effectively administered country in early 19th century Europe. Characteristics of the French Revolution. 1. The French Revolution. 2. The Industrial Revolution. 3. Anti-clericalism, which was a challenge to the authority of the Church. The French Revolution of 1789, which led to the proclamation of the First Republic on 10th August 1792. The Republic lasted till 1804, when the First Empire came to existence with Napoleon Bonaparte as its head. The French Revolution of 1789, which led to the proclamation of the First Republic on 10th August 1792. The Republic lasted till 1804, when the First Empire came to its existence with Napoleon Bonaparte as its head. 2. Political culture. France's political culture is characterized by a fascination with their history. The love to discuss a wide range of problems, even trivial ones, has hardly diminished. There is also a deep love for symbols. Rousseau symbolizes the French love for abstraction, and his ideas have greatly influenced the thinking in revolutionary France. Hence, since politicians protect the will of all, it is civil servants who guide the general will. What this breeds is what one scholar has termed the bureaucratic phenomenon. See Crozier 1963, 1970, Owen 2002. Hence, the French people are characterized by distrust for government with high expectations from it as well. One way in which this is expressed is in the love for protest and revolutionary upheaval. Another issue that features prominently in French political life is the issue of the role of religion in society. Evidently, the French society has increasingly become secularized. Today, only about 10% of the French population attend Mass regularly and 84% never go to church or go only occasionally, such as for baptism or marriages. This is for some a huge challenge to the acceptability of the Catholic Church in a country that has a deep Catholic history. During the 14th century, the city of Avignon was the residence of the papacy for more than 70 years. Lastly, the debate over class structure is equally another issue that receives a lot of attention in public debate. 3. The Constitution. Civil service functions and operations are derivatives of a constitutional framework. In France, where constitutions have not been immune to collapse, the change of constitutions would presumably have some effect on the civil service. The Fifth Republic Constitution placed premium on executive stability, a government capable of instituting and implementing policy directions without being held back by ideological and party squabbles. This system can be referred to as an hybridized system that seeks to combine the features of a presidential system with the features of a parliamentary system. To understand this properly, it is important you compare this system with the presidential system in the United States to the parliamentary system in the United Kingdom. In principle, the National Assembly and Senate are equal, but in real power terms, the power equation is in favor of the National Assembly since the Senate can only delay but cannot prevent the passage of legislation. The French judiciary has two main branches. One branch of court hears administrative cases involving disputes over government regulations, while another branch hears civil and criminal cases. Adams, Jordan, Birchkoff, and Kaiser, 2009. It can, for example, dissolve the assembly, and there are various procedural hurdles which prevent the assembly from making life too difficult for the executive. For more on the constitution, read The French Republic in Apadora's The Substance of Politics, 1975. 4. Overview of the machinery of government. France has an unusual executive structure in the European context, having a president who is powerful and directly elected. Executive power is vested jointly in the President and Cabinet Council of Ministers. The Constitution specifies the areas in which Parliament can legislate and allows the government to act by decree in all other areas, and it contains many other devices to guarantee the dominance of the government over Parliament. Features of France's public administration system. 1. The civil service. The background given so far gives the impression that France is a country characterized by political turmoil. Yet, in the midst of all of this, the French civil service, particularly at its most senior levels, appears to offer a marked contrast. In the periods of political instability, as we have noted earlier, it is the bureaucracy that has held the country together. Yet, in the midst of all of this, the French civil service, particularly at its most senior levels, appears to offer a marked contrast. In the periods of political instability, as we have noted earlier, it is the bureaucracy that has held the country together. In contrast, the senior levels of the civil service have been seen as dynamic, innovative, confident, and highly trained. In its earlier days, the Fifth Republic was often referred to as the Civil Servants' Republic. This is permitted by the liberal employment provisions in the civil service, which permit civil servants to leave the public service and return without losing any position. In the previous study session, we referred to the generalist nature of the United Kingdom civil service system, where we argued that the emphasis was on general administrative and managerial skill as opposed to technical expertise. It is for this reason that it has been argued that the only way to understand the French civil service is by appreciating the significance of the Great Corps. So, what do we mean by this assertion? 1. We mean that when we talk of a senior civil servant, we refer to one who works in one of the Great Corps. This means the only way to demonstrate your membership of the senior civil service is to demonstrate that you belong to one of the Great Corps. 2. Collectively, members of the Great Corps monopolize the most senior positions in the French public service. 3. There is a number of Great Corps, such as the Council of State, the Court of Account, Financial Inspectorate, the Diplomatic Corps, and the Prefectural Corps. There are other technical vocations, such as the Corps of Mining Engineering and the Corps of Road and Bridges. 4. When a person joins a corps, the corps provides a career structure. 5. The different corps has different functional responsibilities. Moreover, it is not uncommon to find senior civil servants take a leave of absence from the civil service and go into politics. This point can be substantiated by real figures. What we must note here is that the corps is at the heart of the French state, and this is evident in their growing preponderance as members of the ministerial private offices. This characteristic of the French civil service must be noted against the backdrop of the British system, which has a permanent secretary who is a single point of contact between the politician and officials. Hence, ministerial cabinets occupy a crucial position at the political and administrative interface, and the Great Corps supplies the membership of these bodies. This includes the École Nationale d'Administration, ENA, and École Polytechnique, among others, and they together play an essential role in the recruitment of administrative, political, and business elites. Hence, the Grand Corps, Grandes Écoles group, though small in number, produces a remarkable number of the country's political elite. To describe the important place of the Grand Écoles, a news magazine once described the graduates of the schools as these princes who govern us, implying that they constituted a network comprising of people who had been molded by the school and imbued with a particular and shared view of government and the role of the state. Local and regional governments in France. The nature and operation of local and regional governments in France has been defined by effort and devolution undertaken in the 1960s and 1970s due to pressure for increased regional and local control. France is divided into 96 departments, each with an elected council and executive. The communes equally have their own councils and mayors. In 1982, President François Mitterrand initiated a major effort to transfer real decision-making powers and budgetary authority to locally elected officials. In any case, this pattern of administration has not been rebuffed as an imposition. The presence of role of the prefect was more often seen as positive and integrative. The council votes for a budget, provides departmental services such as health and welfare, and drafts local regulations. A representative of the national government known as prefect attends council meetings and is authorized to take steps to ensure public order, safety, and security. A representative appointed by the national government speaks on behalf of the national government at council meetings and directs national government services in the region. Adams, Jordan, Bishkov, and Kesa IB. Although, since regional prefects with authority over the area of expertise of their ministries still work with the regional governments, it has been argued that the regions have not really broken free of the French centralist tradition and that as actors in their own right, they play a minor part in the policy-making process. See Lugels and John, 1997, Owen, 2000. 1. Finance and welfare. The economy is steered by the Ministry of Finance, but it consults and works alongside several other advisory bodies, including the Bank of France, the National Credit Council, and the Economic and Social Fund, as well as the planning agencies. 4 decades ago, France was widely lauded for its economic planning, which was given most of the credit for its post-war economic transformation. This process was led by its civil servants, graduates of this grandiose école who staffed the Planning Commission. Although economic planning was credited for the economic transformation in France, planning has not yielded much fruit in more recent times. In spite of this, France's welfare records have been on the average in terms of spreading the benefits of prosperity, particularly after the Second World War. The income gap narrowed significantly between 1976 and 1981, although due to long-term unemployment in 2004, the proportion of the new poor has increased in comparison with the United States. Cuts on welfare packages are lesser in France. Study Section 7 Summary. In this study session, we established that France's history has been marked by chaos and crisis. Under such situation, it is the public administrative system that has held the country together. Service operate based on a technicalist orientation. Also important is the centrality of the Grand Corps, who forms the administrative elite of France and provides quality manpower for other sectors of life. This is the end of Studies Section 7. Thanks for listening.